Hey, welcome to Tabletop Skirmish Games. I'm Lee, and in this Warhammer 40,000 Beginner's Guide video, you're going to see an introduction to my favourite unit, the Eliminators. This video is going to be a pretty thorough introduction to the Eliminators, and you'll find out by the end of the video what they are, how many come in each squad, the sort of armour they use, the weapons they're equipped with, the markings you can see on their armour, what stratagems are good for them, what units can buff them, what transport they can go in. We'll also look at the data sheets and the sets to buy them in. All the information in this video is taken from the Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine Codex book and also from the Imperium magazines, and I'm also keeping up to date by using the Codex Space Marines errata, the core book errata, and also the chapter approved. And this is important because sometimes you can get some really great changes, as here with the Eliminators, they've had their points reduced. Right, let's find out what Eliminators actually are. And Eliminator squads are made up of peerless assassins, deadly marksmen who haunt the shadows of the battlefield unseen by the enemy. For hours they will lie in wait to take the perfect shot, their sophisticated scopes feeding them essential data to ensure they never fail to make the kill. The miniatures are fantastic for the Eliminators, and they come in a box of 3, but you get lots of different poses and lots of weapons included in that box. And some of the details on these are fantastic. You've got them looking down range, you've got them reloading, and you've even got all different weapons slung on the shoulder. This guy with the pistol there, which is a great pose, and you can equip them with lots of different weapons, as we'll go through as we work our way through the video. But my favourite pose is probably the least sniper pose, but it just looks so cool how he's sneaking around about to take a shot with the pistol there. The sprues are packed with weapons, and if you're into snipers, then this is going to be great for you because there's a total of 9 different sniper weapons, and you're also going to get 2 pistols as well. And then for the heads, you're going to get 10 heads altogether. There's only 3 models, so you can see you get lots of choice. And if you want to build a couple of units, then they're all going to look nice and different. So now we know what they are and what they look like, let's find out what do they do on the battlefield. And Eliminator squads fulfill a wide variety of roles, and they can switch quickly from knocking out artillery crews and armour units with their las fusel weapons to picking off the foe's own elite marksmen in vicious sniper duels using the bolt sniper rifle. So the Eliminators, you can think of them as the silent assassins on the battlefield, and they're going to provide cover for spearhead assaults among many other things. They're also great for killing those HQ units and for disabling heavy armoured units. So they've got a lot they can do on the battlefield, and I think they're great fun. They look awesome, and I think if you like snipers, then these are a unit you've got to have in your army. There's going to be 3 Eliminators per squad, and that's going to be made up of 2 Eliminators and 1 Eliminator Sergeant. And they're all going to be wearing the Phobos armour. Now this is going to give you a lot of the same benefits that come with the Intercessors armour, the Mark 10 Tacticus armour, but the Phobos armour is a lot lighter and streamlined, and this is going to help with them to be more stealthy, help with their infiltration. It's going to give them some vanguard capabilities, and that camo cloak is going to help conceal them and give some advantages during the battle. And so all this comes together to give them maximum discretion. Every model in the squad is going to be equipped with a bolt pistol and a bolt sniper rifle. And that sniper rifle can fire 3 different types of rounds, and these all have different effects. And we'll cover these when we look at the data sheets. You've also got the option to replace that bolt sniper rifle with a las fusel, and so this is going to cost you an extra 5 points if you do that now. Now this used to be 10 points, but thanks to that chapter approved update, it's been reduced to 5. For the war gear, they're going to be equipped with frag grenades, crack grenades, and that camo cloak as well. And that camo cloak is going to give you an ability that you'll find out later in the video. You've got the Sergeant as your leader in this squad of 3, and he's going to get the same weapons, the bolt pistol, the bolt sniper rifle, and the 3 round types, but he can replace not only with the las fusel for that 5 points, but also the instigator bolt carbine. That's not going to cost you any extra points, but it's going to give you some different advantages in way of ability. And this ability is called covering fire, and again we're going to go through that when we get to the data sheet. Let's just look at these 3 rifle rounds for the Bolt sniper rifle before we move on to the next part. And we're going to cover them in more detail in the data sheet as well. But they're so interesting and such a cool part of this squad, I think we should just cover it quickly here. So they're called executioner rounds, hyperfrag rounds, and mortis rounds. And the idea with your Bolt sniper rifle is before selecting a target, you select one of these rounds to attack with, and then you've got some different results and different abilities that each one is going to bring to the table. So this is really interesting. You've got one weapon, but you've got 3 different rounds you can use in it, and this makes it really fun. Now let's take a look at the markings that you're going to see on the Eliminators. And just like all the Space Marines, they're going to get one icon for the different unit that they're in. So these are a fire support unit, a heavy support, and so they're going to get this icon on their right pauldron. Depending on what chapter you choose, you may have some special colours or markings to include. Now I play Ultramarines, and Ultramarines have got these different colours for each of the different companies. I play 4th company, so I'll be looking at having a green line around the pauldron. Then you've got the squad numbers, and this would also feature on that same pauldron, as you'll see a little later on. I'll show you an example of this. Now with the Phobos armour, you don't always paint this rim around the pauldron, so you might not see it on these. No reason why you couldn't do if you wanted to, but I'll be leaving mine without it for this unit. And that brings us on to the left-hand pauldron, and so this will show the chapter icon. And so for me, it'll be the Ultramarines, so this is the icon I'll be using. And here's one of the Eliminators showing off that right pauldron, so you can see he's got the fire support icon, and he's got the number for the squad as well. But no area to put that actual trim, so you don't have to include it unless you want to. Sometimes when they wear the cloaks, you can't see the pauldrons, so you'll also find them on the knees here, usually the left knee. Leaders tend to be slightly different in their markings. For example, a sergeant is going to have a different coloured helmet, so would a veteran, a lieutenant and a captain. And a sergeant would have a red helmet. But if you're not using helmets on your units and your models, then the sergeant will also have this red skull, and this is going to go on the same area that you can see the icon for the chapter. So in this case it's the Ultramarines, and he can have it on his left knee or his left pauldron. Now let's have a quick look at stratagems, and we'll look at some datasheet related stratagems. But basically stratagems are a key part of the Warhammer 40,000 game and represent your army commander's orders. So just follow the core rules and then spend your command points to use them. I'd recommend reading through the stratagems yourself. There's so many, and choosing which ones to use with the different units is really up to you and how you want to play your game. Guerrilla Tactics is a really good one to use with the Eliminators, but I think Steady Advance is excellent. So let's take a look at this as an example and just read through it together. And Steady Advance, a measured advance, allows Space Marines to unleash a steady stream of fire. And you use this stratagem in your movement phase. So when an Adeptus Astartes infantry unit from your army makes a normal move, until the end of the turn, that unit is considered to have remained stationary. Now this is going to cost you 2 command points, so it's quite expensive, and whether you'd want to use it on these guys would depend on the situation. But when you bear in mind that these are an infantry unit, so it definitely applies to them, and when an infantry model shoots a heavy weapon, which is what they're equipped with, unless they're using the Instigator bolt carbine, then the rules tell us that we subtract 1 from the hit rolls when resolving that weapon's attacks if the firing model's unit has moved for any reason this turn. So definitely using Steady Advance would keep the advantage and give you a better chance of hitting the enemy. So all up, I picked out like 6 stratagems that really suit them. But I mean, there's so many. When you start looking at the different chapters as well and the stratagems they can use, there's pages and pages of these. So really take your time and have a look through and see which ones you think could apply to them, and just be ready to use that in your battle. As well as stratagems, we can give advantages to our Eliminator squad by using buffing units. And so we can get different characters or HQ models that can bring some extra benefits. And for example, the Ancient here will add 1 to leadership. We've got the Captain, he can help re-roll hit rolls of 1. The Lieutenant can re-roll wound rolls of 1, so as long as you're within their bubble, you can take advantage of these benefits. You've got the Apothecary that can wound save on a roll of 6, and that's 1d6. You've got the Chaplain, who can give a leadership of 9, so that's going to help in certain situations. The Librarian, another favourite of mine, is going to help with reroll advances and give some invulnerable saves. And finally, you'd have the Tech Marine, but he's not going to have any buffs really for this unit. I like the idea of using the Librarian with my Eliminators, and definitely check out that video that I've done, again, a beginner's guide intro to Librarians. It's a great unit, another favourite of mine. And the Librarian has access to 2 psychic powers that I think are really helpful for the Eliminator squad. And the first is Shrouding, and as long as your Eliminator squad is within 18 units of the Librarian, then unless that unit is the closest eligible target, enemy models cannot target that unit with ranged attacks, so that's really useful. But then there's also this Soul Sight psychic power. Again, it's got that 18-inch bubble, which is really good, especially if you're only playing combat patrol, because the battlefield isn't that big. And for this one, each time a model in the unit makes a ranged attack, you can re-roll the hit roll, and the target does not receive the benefits of cover against that attack. So I really like Shrouding and Soul Sight psychic powers, and definitely want to focus a lot on combining my Librarian with the Eliminator squad. For transport, you're not really going to use transport much, I don't think, with the Eliminators, but let's have a quick look at it anyway, because it could be times when you do want to do that. And so with the transport, the first one we've got here is the Impulsor, and this can take up to 6 Primaris infantry models. So potentially you could put 2 units of the Eliminators in here. Then there's the Repulsor Executioner, which can take 6, the Repulsor, which can take 10, and the Storm Raven gunship, which can take 12 altogether. Right, now we're on to the data sheet, and this is where we're going to get all our information for the Eliminator squad to use during the game. So there's quite a lot to go through here, and this is really awesome. We're going to really explore these different weapons and the rounds and the abilities as well. So let's start by looking at the icon in the top left, and this tells us what kind of unit they are, and they're a fire support, but they're a heavy support unit. For the 3-man squad, the power rating is going to be 5. And then when we look at points at the back of the book, the Space Marine Codex, we can see that they're put down as 30 points per model, and the Las Fusel is 10 points if you choose to substitute the Bolt Sniper Rifle. But don't forget, we've got that chapter approved updates, and that tells us here that the Eliminators are now down to 25 points. So that's really good. Gone from 30 to 25 points, and that Las Fusel is now down to 5 points. So this is awesome. For 30 points, you could have an Eliminator equipped with a Las Fusel, or for 25 points, just stick with a Bolt Sniper Rifle. So this is really good. That's a great update for them. Now let's start working our way through the datasheet, starting with the profiles. And this is going to give us all the characteristics that tell us how good the models are. So for the Eliminator, he's got a movement of 6 inches, a weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill 2+, strength is 4, toughness 4, wounds, he's got 2 wounds, attacks 2, leadership is 7, and the save is going to be a 3+. Then we've got the Eliminator Sergeant. Now everything is exactly the same here as far as stats are concerned, except for leadership. That's gone from a 7 to an 8. As we went through earlier, every model is equipped with a bolt pistol, the bolt sniper rifle, frag grenades, crack grenades, and that camo cloak. So they're all going to get that. And then as we work down, we'll see the different weapons they can swap with. And so if they go with the bolt pistol at any time, the range on this is going to be 12. The type is a pistol 1, strength 4, AP 0, and damage is 1. And there's no abilities attached to this, so you're really not going to be using this all that much. Then we've got this bolt sniper rifle, and before you select your target, you select one of the profiles below, which are going to be for the rounds, and that's the one you're going to make your attack with. And each time you select a target, you can also ignore the lookout sir rule. I love this option to choose the different rounds, so let's have a look at each one and see what they can do. So the first one is the Executioner round. The range is 36 inches. This is a heavy 1 type weapon, strength 5, AP -1, and damage is 1. And then we've got an ability attached to it, which tells us that each time an attack is made with this weapon profile, add 1 to that attack's hit roll. And targets do not receive the benefit of cover against attacks made with this weapon profile. As we talked about earlier in the video, these guys are great at taking out maybe a HQ unit, a character, or even taking out another sniper from the enemy's army. And so this is the round you want to choose to take that shot. You're going to get that 1 to the attack's hit roll, and then you can ignore that cover as well. So that's brilliant. I really like this one. This is great and perfect for the narrative. Yeah, I love the snipers, and this is a great round that you want to be using a lot, I think. Next up, we've got the Hyper Frag round, and this is a range of 36 inches as well, but it's heavy D3, so you could potentially take 3 shots with this. Strength is 5, armor piercing is 0, and damage is 1, but the ability for this is the Blast ability. Now this is going to be the round you want if you want to take out more than one actual model. So if you're going, maybe there's a unit advancing towards you, you could certainly make use of this with that blast ability. And with a blast weapon, it's going to be a minimum 3 attacks against units with 6+ models. So we're heavy D3 here, but if there's 6 or more models in the unit you're attacking, then you can always make 3 attacks against them. So that's really useful. And it also says in the rules that any units with 11+ models, you always make the maximum. So it's always going to be 3 because we've got a heavy D3 weapon here. You won't be able to use this though if the unit that you're attacking is within your unit's engagement range. Now we're on to the Mortis round. Again, it's 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 5, AP is -2 now, and you're going to do more damage. This is 2 damage, and the ability attached to this tells us that each time an attack is made with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. So this is really great. So with a mortal wound, each mortal wound inflicted on a unit causes 1 model in the unit to lose 1 wound, and no saving throws can be made against that. So any mortal wounds inflicted by attacks in addition to normal damage always apply, so even if normal damage is saved. So this is really great if you really want to cause some damage here. You're really hoping for 6s. You're only making 1 roll though, it's only 1 dice to attack with, but if you get that 6, you're going to do some damage for sure. Now we're on to the Instigator Bolt Carbine, and this is a 24-inch range. It's an Assault 1 type weapon, strength 4, -1 AP, 2 damage, and each time you select a target for this weapon, you could ignore the Lookout Sir rule. Now this is only an option for the Eliminator Sergeant, so he can swap his Bolt Sniper Rifle for either the Instigator Bolt Carbine or the Las Fusil. So there's going to be some benefits if he does go with the Instigator Bolt Carbine, and that's an ability called Covering Fire, and we'll look at that in a second. So let's look at the final weapon, which is the Las Fusil, and this is a 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 8, -3 AP, and 3 damage. So this is a beast, and this is going to be used to take out some of those heavily armoured vehicles. Now this is going to cost you 5 extra points, but you can see why. You get a lot here. There's no abilities attached to it though, but you know, it's going to certainly do some damage, and it could be cool to have 2 units of Eliminator squads, one with Las Fusils, one armed with Bolt Sniper Rifles, or you could mix up the different Eliminators within the squad and give them the different weapons. But I like the idea of having one squad all armed with a Bolt Sniper Rifle, maybe an Instigator Bolt Carbine for covering fire too. Now we're on to the Camo Cloak, and each time a ranged attack is allocated to the bearer while it is receiving the benefits of cover, you can add an additional 1 to any armor saving throw made against that attack. So these guys, you want to keep them in cover as much as possible, make use of this Camo Cloak, and then keep them in the game for as long as possible, hitting those HQ units, taking out those heavily armoured vehicles. And so you want to get these guys up high, hopefully in some cover, and then really take advantage of that war gear. And we've covered this already, but let's just go over it one more time. The Eliminator Sergeant's Bolt Sniper Rifle can be replaced with either the Instigator Bolt Carbine or the Las Fusil, and that Las Fusil is 5 points extra, but all the Eliminators in the unit can have their Bolt Sniper Rifle replaced with 1 Las Fusil each. Now we're on to the abilities, and we get Angels of Death and Concealed Positions. Now Angels of Death might look like one ability here, but there's a lot going on with this, so definitely spend some time reading through this. And on page 124 to 125 you can find all the Angel of Death rules, and so that's going to include And They Shall Know No Fear, Bolter Discipline, it's going to include Shock Assault, and it's also going to include combat doctrines, and this opens up so many different rules and benefits, and you've got these different doctrines laid out: Devastator, Tactical, and then finally Assault Doctrine. So have a good read through this. There's a lot of information just for that one ability name, but you've also got Concealed Positions, and now this is one that really is great for the Eliminators. And this is going to allow you to set up towards like the middle of the battlefield. As long as you're more than 9 inches away from the enemy deployment zone and any enemy models, you can get a lot closer. So get a good position, get that height, put them in some cover, and then you really are set up to do some nice damage. So think of this as like a vanguard force, a main advance, and then you're taking up forward positions to ambush the enemy. Let's have a look at the other ability called Covering Fire, and in your shooting phase, after this unit is shot, if it is not within engagement range of an enemy unit and contains the Eliminator Sergeant equipped with that Instigator bolt carbine, it can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. So I really like this ability, not just for what it allows you to do, but also the whole narrative of it. You give them that smaller gun so they can provide cover and fire, as the 2 Eliminators with the bolt sniper rifles can then take that time to move and get into cover. So if you did choose to use this weapon with your sergeant, then you're not going to have as much firepower going down range, but what you are going to be able to do is take some shots with your other 2 Eliminators and then move them into a better cover position after you've fired. So that could be a huge benefit and could certainly keep them in the game a lot longer. Now we're nearing the end, where we look at the faction keywords, which are Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, and then you'll put your chapter there. Then we've got regular keywords: Infantry, Corps, Primaris, Phobos, and Eliminator Squad. So that's pretty much covered an introduction, and a thorough introduction, to the Eliminator Squad. So let's find out where to buy them. And you can get these as a set of 3 miniatures, and the RRP is £30. And from the sprues we went through earlier, you can see you get lots of variation with the different weapons and poses, and the heads as well. So I think it seems quite expensive for £30, but the quality of these is exceptional, and like I keep saying, these are one of my favourite units by far. If you don't have any Space Marines yet, then I can certainly recommend the Combat Patrol. You're going to get the set of the Eliminators in there, you're going to get loads of other miniatures, you're going to get the vehicle. So for £85, this is great value, and you won't have to pay the full price. Certainly in the UK, there's many retailers who can offer up to 20% off that price, so we'll cover that in a second. But there's one other place you can get them, and that's the Imperium magazine. They're going to feature as part of this subscription, but I don't know what issue they're going to be in yet, so it could be a lot later on in there. We're up to 14 now. We get a good look ahead to issues 21, so we know what's coming. So it'll be after issue 21 if you wanted to wait and get them with the Imperium magazine. I couldn't wait, so I picked mine up, and you can get them at Element Games for £25.50, so you're saving, what, 15% it says there, so that's a great saving, and you're going to get that delivered. As long as it's over £80, you get free delivery. With Wayland Games, they're a bit cheaper at £23.86, but they're not in stock right now, but they do always restock, so you can expect those really soon. So I'll put some links in the description below to both these sites where you can save some money and support the channel, as they're affiliate links, and I get a small commission from every sale made. So there we go, that's our introduction to the Eliminators. A great set of models, great unit to have in the game, and I don't know how they would hold up competitively, but I think for fun, for narrative play, I think I'd really enjoy playing these, and I think you will too, so that's why they're going to be in my Ultramarines army. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope this was a good introduction to the Eliminator Squad if you don't know much about them already. So let me know what you do think about them though in the comment section below. I love reading all your feedback, and if I've made any mistakes, please point that out below too. I'd like to say a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters who make these daily videos possible, and if you're interested in joining the community, it'd be awesome to see you there, and I'll put a link for that in the description down below. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Please like if you like it, subscribe for more videos like this, and don't forget to hit the notification bell to join me next time on Tabletop Skirmish Games.